Hi everyone, I hope you've been working on your self-portrait sketches. Today I'm going to show you how to take that sketch and really refine it, starting to add details, cleaning up the lines, and adding shading. And all we're using is a pencil. So I hope this video will help you to add shading and detail to your self-portrait. Okay, let's start refining our drawing. Please make sure that you have the photo that you're working from. It's that one. Right by you. I've got mine right off screen here. And all you need is a pencil and an eraser. I'm using a kneaded eraser, but you can use anything for this. It's no problem. The first thing that I like to do is erase a lot of my drawing. And I'm doing this so that the lines aren't too dark, and I can go back over them, and they won't be too much while I'm working. Okay, so now I have what I like to call a ghost image of my drawing. And that means that the lines are there, and I can see them, but they're very light, so that way they're not distracting as I start working on the details. So I recommend, once you're at this stage, that you start working just one section at a time. So I'm going to pick one little area, let's say this paintbrush that's in the center of the composition. I'm going to start working on these lines, and what's important here is that you're choosing the lines from your sketch that you like the best. You're editing out things you didn't like, changing things that didn't work the first time, because it's okay if you make mistakes, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But this stage is for trying to edit some of those mistakes. It's like when you do the rough draft of a paper that you write, and then you go back and you edit that paper and you say, you know what, these details don't work, or this paragraph needs to be rewritten. All right, so I've drawn in the sketch for this first paintbrush. Now, I know it's still not perfect, and that's all right. You can constantly edit and rework parts of your drawing as you go. But now I'm going to start to add some of the details, some of the bristles. And what I'm looking for is what directions these lines go in, where they're lighter and where they're darker. Now, in my initial photo, this brush is a bit blurry. And I'm not sure if I'm going to keep that or not. If you notice, I erased the top line of the bristles because the edge of them should be very soft. It shouldn't have a hard line there. So I'm going to draw some of those in. I'm also going to start sketching the part of my eye, nose, and glasses that are right behind this brush. This will be the area that I focus on today. So I'm looking at this part of my eye. And I'm going to start to sketch this in. I'll put this in fast forward so that you can watch me do it, but I'll talk a little bit about it afterwards. Okay, so here's the line drawing that I did of my eye based on this part of the picture right here. So I'm working on this section. Now I'm going to go in and add some of the shading to this. So I've been working on the eye for this portrait, and one of the things that I think is going to help a lot is by shading in part of the skin just with the side of your pencil. So if I go in to work on my nose here, I'm going to shade this in with the side of my pencil. Now it's not filling it in solid, and I'm not pressing too hard. I'm keeping it light. Now I'm going to take just a piece of a napkin or paper towel or a tissue, and with circular motions, I'm going to help smudge this pencil onto my paper. Now, here's why I like to do this. This gives me a middle gray ground to start working with, because now I can use my eraser as a tool to draw in the highlights, and I can use the pencil to draw in the darker areas. So if you look at the picture, I've got this bright highlight on the bridge of my nose, this highlight on the side of my nostril, and then this highlight on the ball of my nose. So I'm going to put those in with my eraser. I think the eraser is a great tool for drawing in things like this. A lot of people use their eraser just for cleaning up mistakes, and although it is great for that, it is also a really good drawing tool. So now I'm looking at the darkest parts of my nose, and I find that that is going to be here on the edge of the ball of my nose. It's going to darken a bit here. Obviously the nostrils are the darkest area. At least they are in my photo. Maybe your photo, or if it's from a different angle, might not be the same. But I really recommend you using your pencil to smudge in a layer of gray before you do all of this crazy shading, especially on the skin, because it's a really good way to block in some tone. And it reminds you that your skin is not the bright white of the paper, that only certain areas should be that light. Now, if you want a crisper edge on your highlight, you can go in lightly with your pencil on the sides of those and mark them. That might work for you, that might not work for you. Depends a little bit on what you're drawing, right, is going to look like. I've done this shape over here. And this other nostril is going to be in this area, but we don't see as much of it because of the angle. So we're going to do a little bit here. I don't recommend that you smudge the pencil with your fingers. Your fingers have a lot of oil on them just naturally, and that leaves an oily residue on the paper that never really goes away. So it often will affect the way the pencil layers on it, might give you some unintended textures or consequences. So if you can avoid it, don't smudge the pencil with your finger. Anything that's a soft paper product, a tissue, a napkin, a piece of a paper towel even, all of that would work. Now I'm looking at the edge of the highlight that's on the bridge of my nose, and it is not a straight line. It is all funky shaped. So I'm making sure that I'm going in and adding that. Actually doesn't come down quite this far. Right, and now that's a little heavy-handed, so I'm gonna go in and smudge it out a little bit. I'm also gonna use my kneaded eraser to pick up a little bit of the value in areas that aren't maybe quite as dark as I had made them. Now this is gonna take quite some time to work on, right? It is not done, but it is getting there. Right, I've got to put in the edge of the glasses because that's going to make a huge difference because those are really, really dark. And once I have those really dark areas in, that's going to be huge. Okay, so now I've done a lot of work on this with the eye, the nose. So the big things to take away from this sketch is really look at your subject, where those lines and shapes are, try to capture those. Then when you start shading, lay in a little bit of gray with the side of your pencil, and I'd recommend smudging it a little with a napkin or paper towel or a tissue. Use the eraser to add in the bright white areas, and then use the pencil to add in some darker areas. Now I'm going to keep working on this, and we'll see how it goes. All right, I hope that video can help you. Now, if you still have questions, please let me know. I'll be happy to answer them for you, give you tips, or send you other resources, including videos by other artists on YouTube that may be able to help you if you have questions about drawing specific features, shading other things, doing things like hair, or whatever it may be. Please keep working on these self-portraits and post photos of them to my Google Classroom so I can give you some help. All right.